Welcome to another Dark Nook video. In this video, I'm making some tooled leather cuff bracelets. It's a metal cuff with a recessed area for a leather inlay. I'm using the same slasher style that I use for my horror wallets. Thanks for checking out my video, and please hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment down below. I start by cutting the strips of tooling leather to the correct length. It's okay to draw on the underside of the leather, because of course you're never going to see that in the final product. So I draw out the shape, and then I cut it with a sharp razor. Once the pieces are cut, I tape the backs with packing tape. This helps prevent the leather from distorting too much through the tooling process. And it makes it easier to tape the piece down, so it doesn't slide all around when I'm tooling it. Once the leather is prepped, I tape it down and then wet the leather. I want it to be damp, but not too wet. I'm sticking paper over the top of it and I don't want the paper to soak through. So I draw my design on a piece of paper and I take that piece of paper and tape it over the top of the leather. Then with a ballpoint pen, I trace over the design, being firm, but also being careful not to push the pen hard enough to punch through the paper. This will imprint the design into the leather, so a steady hand and a single line is going to produce the best result. When I'm done tracing, I remove the paper, and now it's time to cut the leather. I use a very sharp X-Acto blade, but the trick is you only want to cut into the surface of the leather, not all the way through. You want to cut just enough to score the design into the surface. Once the cutting is done, the next step is tooling. Now this means taking various tools and hammering them into the leather to achieve different effects, beveling some edges or pushing part of the leather down to create depth, or using tools to shape the leather into a desired look. It's a lot like sculpting, but in leather. When the leather dries, all these tooling marks will be permanently shaped into the leather. Then I use a spoon tool to shape the leather to look like skin that's being pulled tight by the stitches I'll add later. hammer down flat the inside of the wound. I want that part to be flat and create depth. Once all the tooling is done, I let it dry overnight, and then it's time to start staining the leather. I also tooled another design with little hearts for that creepy goth girl vibe. You know, all the attention grabbing of self-mutilation, but none of those pesky scars. I start the staining process with very diluted wash of green. People don't realize, but human skin has green tones, and if you don't add green, it just looks like a band-aid. It looks beige. It doesn't look like skin. So I add a green wash, and then once that's done, I add a diluted wash of blue stain. Now the problem is, it looks much darker because that's the leather getting wet. If you're not sure what it's going to look like, let it dry. You can always add more stain if it's too light, but you can never remove stain if it's too dark. Once the staining washes are done, I move on to painting the insides of the wounds with blood red stain. I do a few coats of this stain, and then I add a wash of purple inside the wound. I water it down so it'll bleed slightly into the surrounding leather, giving the edge of the cut areas a slightly bruised look. This adds to the realism of the final product. Once the staining is all done, I seal the inside of the wound area with leather sealer to keep the bloody areas looking wet. When that's dry, I add the stitches with some heavy sewing thread and then glue the leather cuff to the bracelet. Then I wrap them in masking tape to hold the leather in position until the glue sets, but with the sticky side facing out, so it won't stick to the leather or damage the surface. Once the glue is set, I cut off the masking tape and they're all done. And check for any stray bits that might be sticking up over the edge and might need to be pushed back down or anything like that. Little spot checks and touch up, but they're all finished. And here's how they turned out, all ready for your Valentine's sweetheart. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, and thanks for checking out my channel.